together, and we're
Recording in
coming out of
progress.
this COVID situation in a great way. It's good to have everybody in the same room and smiling, and it's, like I said, it's been a couple of years. We are entering our 7th year for Des Moines Corporate Games. Show of hands, who's been there all 7 from the very beginning? Raise your hands up if you've been there all the way from the beginning. And do we have any new companies this year? Raise your hand. Oh, great, great. We're 30% higher from last year. So we're about at 72 companies this year, and that's a 30% increase from last year. So we're really pleased with that. Again, just shows the confidence of companies coming back off of a pandemic a couple of years, and so it's good to see that on the rise again. I am the CEO and Executive Director of the Iowa Sports Foundation, and the Corporate Games is one of our pillars. As any good CEO does, he gets out of his staff's way. So I want to let our staff take over. Enjoy the morning. We'll have you out of here in time for you to go to work and all that good stuff. But I want to turn it over to Kyle. Kyle's been he handles the Corporate Games now. Done a really fabulous job the last several years. So I'm going to let him take over, and we have some really good partnerships, and I'm sure Kyle's going to talk about that as well. So welcome. Thanks for coming. Let's have a good morning. Kyle, up to you.
Thank you, Chuck. I'd also want to introduce Matt. Many of you know Matt. He's been with the Games far longer than I have. He kind of started the Games back in 2016. So it's his 7th year in Des Moines, so he knows the ins and outs of Corporate Games far better than I do. So if you have questions, ask him. And then Sarah, she is kind of assistant director of the Corporate Games. She helps a lot more with like our Quad Cities games. If you don't know that, we do Corridor and Quad Cities games as well. So if you have companies in those areas, they tell them to get signed up for those next year. I also want to introduce Troy. He's been in the games longer than I have as well. He's with Corteva. He is the lead company administrator for them. He helps us a lot with kind of planning out events. Will it work for Corporate Games? Will it not? Especially with track and field. Him and I geek out over track and field stuff a lot. So I want to introduce him. He's also a great person to lean on for new companies. He knows the ins and outs of promoting events to employees, getting people to participate where it doesn't feel like you're having to pull teeth to get people to go to this event or that event. So with that, I'll introduce Troy with Corteva.
That would be way too much credit, honestly. I think a big special thanks goes to these guys. I've been sort of around the sports realm for many years, and the amount of work that these guys do with very little help a lot of times, and our volunteerism really makes that a big part of this. So I think we need a round of applause for them. Seriously, they do a great job with that. I guess I'm just the sucker to speak today because this is on our site. I always hate this too because it's going to be on camera and I want to hide a bald spot up there. I got to make fun of myself too because it's like anxiety. I haven't been around people forever, right? We're all kind of getting that. So here I go. I feel better now. Really, our 3 sort of, I guess, pillar things of why the Des Moines Corporate Games has been a success for us. I guess I just wanted to share that. We're all different businesses, right? So what works for one doesn't always work for another. So I'm just going to share what I guess has worked for us. But the 3 are our internal promotion, our team connection, and our continued level of engagement. So from an internal promotion standpoint, I guess we get lucky and we're able to send an HR email. That's not always so easy to do, or what one would constitute an everybody email. We use a lot of employee communications from that standpoint. Leadership up top has bought into this for us, so it's been great. And then we also do an internal SharePoint because there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and I can't say the same thing a million times, so we sort of redirect to that, so that's been good for us. And then we try to kind of tell a story. That goes to the level of engagement, which I'll share, but I think that's one of the big reasons that we keep people participating, because it's not just one event, that's it, I did my part. It's everybody coming together cumulatively to offer, or to be part of a team. So we treat the fitness walk just like we would 3-on-3 basketball, right? Like that's just how you want to get employees engaged and make them feel how important it is them being part of the team. So Digital signage with this whole COVID thing, we've had to get big on that, so a lot of QR codes sit around campus to try to get employees engaged. And then this is our 6th year participating in it, so it's really been more of a word of mouth thing. It's just kind of grown. I have a team of 4. Not everybody has that, but one thing I can say is don't try to do this by yourself. The first year I was kind of like, oh yeah, I can do this. It didn't really work that well. I mean, we figured it out about midway through, but I use my staff, and then I just reference them as ambassadors, and then we'll build captains underneath that. Like, someone might say, why do you have a captain for Meals for the Heartland or some of this other stuff? It just works easier. It saves the time on the emails, so each of my 4 employees have essentially 6 captains underneath them, and they just communicate that detail. That just has worked well for us. And then keeping employees engaged, telling a story. I usually tell the story through pictures because the written word is not my favorite thing to do. So at the games, I take a lot of pictures. But that's been one thing that has helped really tell a story and keep employees engaged, the duration of it, as opposed to the games start, figure it out, good luck. You know, we still try to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up because that's all I got to say.
Thanks, Troy. And again, he's a good person to lean on if you're looking for materials to use, how to do it, stuff like that. Even if you're in the same division as him, he'll help you out if you're competing against him. So don't worry. But thank you, Troy. And hopefully you guys got a chance to network beforehand a little bit. I know it's kind of a lot packed into a short period of time, so we'll have time at the end for that too. But it's not just going to an event and participating and going home. Go meet people, network, make friends, you know, that you could go play spike ball with on another weekend, or pickleball, or whatever event. So thank you, Troy. I'm going to introduce Hannah. She sits about 4 feet away from me at the office. She is our Director of Adaptive Sports Iowa, which is our charity partner for this year again. But I'll let Hannah talk about it because she has been running, for 3 years? Going on 4. So let's go, Hannah.
Hey everyone, I'm going to try to keep this short, but like Kyle said, I'm Hannah Lundeen. I'm the Director of Adaptive Sports Iowa, and we basically provide sports and recreation for Iowans with physical disabilities. We have 12 different programs that we run throughout the year, providing opportunities for both youth and adults to be able to enjoy recreation stuff, and I think it's just a huge blessing to have. There's a portion of every corporate games registration that goes towards Adaptive Sports Iowa, and it really helps us to be able to provide different programs for these Iowans. All of the programs that we provide are free to participants, and we provide all adaptive equipment that's needed, which is really important because specifically, so like if you look on the top left or top middle, an adaptive hand cycle can run $10,000 to $15,000, where you look at your bike and maybe it might be $1,000 if you have a nicer one. A lot of adaptive equipment is very expensive. The bottom left picture has our wheelchair basketball team. Basketball chairs, we just bought some new ones. They run $4,000 to $6,000, and so all of these pieces of equipment add up, and specifically when we're providing those for each person, it's super important that we get as much backing and donations as possible, so then we can have quality equipment and quality programs. So I just want to thank you guys for participating in the corporate games, and also thank you, corporate games, for having us be a charity partner. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. And I got to experience it last year. I coached track at Ames High last year, and we had an athlete compete in the wheelchair. It was the coolest experience in the world. So to see it firsthand, the benefits of Adaptive Sports Iowa was awesome. So quick agenda for today. We're going to go through our community challenges with Meals from the Heartland and Blood Donation Challenge. We'll go through some of our team sports, co-ed rules, and track and field stuff. I'll get into it more later. Sport and event information, administrator tools, kind of the importance of volunteers. Matt's going to take us through Corporate Games Manager. He kind of invented it, so he knows the ins and outs of it very, very well. And then we'll have time for question and answers. So our first community challenge is blood donation. We have Kyle, Charles with LifeServe, I think in here. Oh, Kyle and Danielle. Perfect. So Danielle gets to speak today. Yeah. Awesome. So, awesome. So Danielle with LifeServe, this is a very, very important challenge during the summer, especially when times are low with blood supply. So I'll let Danielle talk more about that.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Danielle West, and I'm the Director of PR and Marketing at LifeServe Blood Center. As this Kyle mentioned, blood donation's been tough, especially through the pandemic. I know we've all had challenges through the pandemic. We're still feeling that. We saw that too with last year's blood donation challenge compared to years prior. So just a little background about LifeServe. We are the sole provider in this community and really the majority of Iowa, parts of Nebraska, South Dakota. So the hospitals here, the patients can only get those blood products from volunteer blood donors with LifeServe, and we appreciate all of your help and support, especially through the summer months. Those are very challenging for us. People are traveling, having fun, not necessarily thinking about blood donation, so this challenge is really perfect for us to help boost the supply in May, June, and July. For numbers, I just had some numbers to illustrate, I would say, the impact that COVID continues to have on the blood supply. In 2021, we collected 463 units of blood through the blood donation challenge. In 2019, we collected 2,000 plus units. So that, I think, really illustrates what we're still seeing. A lot of our businesses are remote, not fully in the office. High schools, colleges are still not having us back in full force. So we're hoping that this year we can work with you. Even if you can't have your own blood drive, we do have some other options to get your people into our doors and help donate and then help get points back for your company for the blood donation challenge. So we always have the option of hosting a blood drive. We have Jana here on our team who is an expert in that. She can talk to you after if you have questions about hosting your own blood drive. Or we now have 4 donor centers in Greater Des Moines. We're adding one in Pella. We have one in Ames. So we actually have, I would say, 6 in the central Iowa area. And we have these sheets at our table where if you can't host your own blood drive, you can encourage your team members to come in and donate. You all have your own specific employee code that you can give our team when you come in to donate, and then we're gonna track that weekly, provide those back to you. So it's just another way to get people in our door to donate if you can't host your own blood drive. Or you can do a combination of both because we'll track both along the way. So make sure you stop by. We also have packets for every company. So we have information about LifeServe, what you can do with your blood drives, and then specific information we can provide. If you want handouts, specific things like that, we can help provide that as well. So make sure you stop by after this, and thank you again to Des Moines Corporate Games for having us. Like I said, it's a huge impact to the blood supply, so thank you all so much.
Thank you, Danielle. And that one, it does start May 1, so you can start sending people in May. You don't have to wait till June. That way people can donate twice throughout the summer. And you can, if you send your uncle or cousin or whoever, tell them to go on behalf of your company, and that counts as points, correct? So, or not points, people. The more we can get people to donate, the better. Second is Meals from the Heartland. Georgie with Meals from the Heartland is going to talk with us. Probably stayed up too late like me watching basketball last night, right?
I did not watch any basketball. The Badgers lost. So for those that don't know Chuck Long, he played quarterback for the Hawkeyes, and the Hawkeyes are a team that play football over in Iowa City. So anyways, I love to give Chuck a hard time, but it's great to be back. Can't say enough of these guys. If this is your first time here, man, you are really in for a treat. These guys do a great job. We're so proud and so glad that we can continue to partner with the Des Moines Corporate Games and over in Cedar Rapids as well. So if you do have locations over there, you can tell them to jump on board as well. But Meals from the Heartland, we're here, myself and one of my coworkers, Lisa, so we're happy to chat with you afterwards and give you more details. We'll be sending out emails as well. But what we are is we're located over in Valley Junction, right off of 63rd Street is where our packaging center is. And we are a hunger relief organization that was born here in Des Moines back in 2008. And since that time, we've been blessed to package and send out over 185 million meals now all over the world, as far away as South Africa, the Philippines, Haiti, Nicaragua, and actually right here in Iowa in the U.S. as well. Just yesterday, Lisa and I were around town handing out boxes of our Hearty Pack and Taco Mac meals to local organizations that were in need. And then tomorrow, actually, the governor is going to be at our site, and we're shipping several pallets directly to Ukraine tomorrow. So exciting what we're able to do. We love that we're linked to the land and the people of Iowa, and you guys specifically, and then we make an impact all over the world, which is pretty special. So essentially what we do is we partner with you guys to either host a meal packaging event at your location. We have the capability to bring an event to your site, just like the blood service, they can bring something to you. Or just like them, we also have our packaging center there in West Des Moines. You can bring groups to us. The advantage of bringing a group to us is that we package meals Tuesday through Saturday typically, and we have 9 different shifts, and all of those shifts are open for you guys to sign up, your employees, your coworkers to sign up for both of those months. So sometimes it might be hard to get people to sign up for a specific time at this event. Maybe it doesn't work. This is something you can just blast out and say, hey, sign up for these shifts, and then just keep checking in with your captain and things like that. So something to think about. The other thing is we count family members, coworkers, friends. If they're in that group with that employee, we want to count them. We want to make you guys look good. We want to look good. We all just want to look good, right? So it doesn't matter who shows up. It's great for families and for teams who maybe work outside of the office quite a bit. This is just a very social 2-hour time, get together, and then a lot of people go out afterwards and have a good time as well. So something to think about, a way to promote that and get people in. If it's a small group of just 1 or 2, we'll just group them up with other people that signed up for that same time slot, and they'll make a table and they'll have a great time as well. If it's a larger group, we can have groups of 30, 40, 50, 60 come to our site as well. So we're happy to talk more details in that regard. When we bring an event to your site, I would say it definitely maximizes the impact because we can have shorter shifts and kind of shuffle people through there, and you can count more people towards your total. There is some funding that's involved when you bring an event to your site, and we can give you more details as well. But again, we're able to make an impact all over the world. COVID has only increased that, partly because organizations like us have been shut down for a little while, and obviously the need has just grown. So happy to chat with you more. Lisa and I will be in the back, and excited to be here. Thanks again, Matt and Kyle, for all your work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Georgie. If you have not done the meal packing, it's fun. We've done it as a staff. It gets very competitive. Our team won, I remember that, but it's a lot of fun. So quick rundown of the team sports and events: 3-on-3 basketball, bags, spike ball, all those types of things. But I want to go through, this important document is on the admin toolkit page on the website. We'll go through it later. It has the minimum number of people you can have to compete, maximum number you can have to compete, the deadline. In Corporate Games Manager, there's a deadline that's set. And that has when the event locks. All we need to know is yes or no, do you have a team? And then the schedule is usually released within 2 days of that. So it's usually about 2 weeks prior to the event. It's on a Wednesday. If you want, you can sort that document by deadlines, and that way you can know which events have deadlines. But we email that out every week. But this is an important document to know how many people you can have, minimum, maximum, all those types of things. The second page also has our clarifications on co-ed and open teams. That's a common question we get, but that's 2 different things. Open is any combination of men and women. Co-ed is typically equal number of men to women or more women than men, but that document's going to take through even sport-specific details on the co-ed rules. We never ask for a roster of any sort. You can add people in Corporate Games Manager so they know that they're going to the event, but we don't need to know who is coming. All we need to know is yes or no. Do you have one team? Some events allow for more teams, but we never need to know anyone's names or anything like that, except for track and field, which we use athletic.net, and we'll get into that. Right now, Matt's going to take us through.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Athletic.net, we've been using that the past few years for track and field rosters. If you've participated in the track meet, you know how chaotic they can get, and we've tried not to ask for rosters ahead of time, but over time we decided we really needed to, just to make it a better meet, better experience for everybody. So basically, with track and field, you do have a limit on the number of participants for each company, essentially 2 men, 2 women for the age groups, except for ages 50 plus, you can have 4 men or 4 women, and that's per event in the track meet. And again, we're using athletic.net, and you'll get some information on that. Kyle will be sending that out, I think, at the end of the week. That'll explain a little bit more about, especially if you've used it before, you'll have your username and password and everything. But if you're new to it, there'll be some more information there. But it's basically, obviously, we got a little bit of time, but we plan to have our deadline on Thursday, June 9th. And the nice thing is, with using athletic.net, you'll put in your people that are doing the events. We can turn around heat sheets really fast, and then we'll have them, and everybody will be able to see what lane they're running in. They'll be able to see all the information for that. It also, you'll have the ability to add additional coaches. Like Troy mentioned, having sport captains is nice. Track and field is definitely a sport that if you're able to hand that off to somebody else and delegate that, somebody who's really interested in track and field, someone like Troy, you have someone like that in your company, you can hand that off, they can help build your rosters and put that together, and then they can enter everybody in too. And it's pretty simple to use. It's just a matter of, that's an extra step that really helps just make that meet a lot better. But again, you'll be able to go in, put people in, you can edit those rosters. As Kyle mentioned, it's the only sport that we ask for people, but you can change them until we get to that deadline. And then once that 5 p.m. deadline hits on June 9th, that'll all lock in place, and we'll pull the files at that point. So that should cover everything with track and field. But yeah, you'll be getting more information, and then if you have questions, we can help you with that.
Yeah, so as soon as it gets set up in athletic.net, we use All-American Timing, Brett Carney. He was an All-American at Iowa State in track and field. He has his timing company he uses, but he's like traveling the world. His daughter is a national elite hurdler, so they're going to lots of track and field meets. So as soon as he gets that uploaded, we'll get that information to you. If you've used it last year, you should already have an account, be tied to your company and tied to your team and everything. We do have instructional videos on how to add people using, all you have to do is put people in an Excel sheet and you can upload it and it works pretty slick, or you can add them manually. All I ask is you don't wait until like the week before the meet to start logging into your account, because then it gets a little crazy. So as soon as you get that information, get logged in, make sure you have access, because the longer you wait, the more painful it'll be, the more time you have to use it, the better. Some dad?
Yeah, I was just going to share one thing about that. Actually, the game manager. That's a good one to get there. Athletic.net, just to kind of have an account from last year. Kind of a nice thing, but it gives you a chance to
Yeah, it'll give you headaches at first. It did me. I'm sure it did a lot of you last year. But once you figure out how to use it, it's super awesome. We get live results. We're at Drake Stadium for those that ever got to compete there or did compete. It's cool to go back. So it's a really cool experience to do that at Drake. Kind of go through some of our sport and event information now. This is the full calendar for this year. Shouldn't have any changes, I hope, knock on wood. It does look daunting, yes. We do have division-specific calendars saved underneath that on the admin toolkit page, so it's going to look a lot less daunting. As you can see, some divisions or some events have multiple days listed. You will never have to compete for multiple days for one event, so it's just different divisions compete on different days. And then we have our sport and event web pages. So every event that we have has its own web page. It's got the location, which divisions play which day, when the schedule is going to be posted, times. Some events, Division 1 might start at 9 a.m. and Division 4 might start at 11 a.m. So time-specific, roster limits, eligibility, who can come and compete, how many people, the competition info, rules, and a lot always has our event host, our event partners, as we have a lot that we would not be able to host the events that we do without the several great partners that we have. So my first advice to you as admins is always send people to the website to find the information on their own. If they can't find it, we would like that you contact us as the admins. That way you don't have hundreds of employees contacting us. We would like you guys to be that main contact with us as that lead company admin. We also have employee check-in. Matt kind of is going to take us through this a little bit, but it's pretty cool. We got QR codes set up at every event, so it's really easy. As long as you have an account in Corporate Games Manager, that check-in is super easy. But you want to run through it quickly?
Yeah, so the QR code process, we actually started that in 2020, and it wasn't intended for COVID, but it worked out really nicely for it. Basically, how it is, the nice thing is, we'll have check-in every event. You can see a picture, I think that's from yoga from a few years ago, and we'll have devices that people can check in on. We found over time, especially some of our events that have gotten larger, you have some lines that develop. And so the QR code is a nice thing that people can just pull out their phone. They can pull up their camera. The big thing with that is to be logged in to their Corporate Games Manager account. If they're logged in, it's really simple, it goes really fast, and then they just show someone at the table they're logged in. There'll be a little green thing that comes up. But if it'll show the events that you're eligible for, so pretty simple. I don't think we have this set up this year to be a test one. We did the last couple of years when we did this online, so people could test it at home. So don't try it right now. It's not actually doing anything. But pretty simple to use. It's a nice feature we have, and then it also is something, we have a few virtual events that we've kind of hung on to that have been really good for us, and so the QR code is an essential piece to that too, to get checked in, get your company points and everything.
Should work. It'll take you to the website, but it won't let you check in for anything right now. Volunteers. So a lot of you know how important volunteers are to our events. We couldn't do the events like track and field and 3-on-3 basketball without events. So there is a volunteer program. You do not have to do it. By April 29th is the deadline. You just have to select yes or no whether you want to participate. Each company that does opt into that will have a set amount of required volunteers for the summer. It's typically ballpark about 8, 6, 4, and 2 for the certain divisions. That's the total number of volunteers required for the entire summer if you do that. So it's not much at all. Each volunteer spot is 2 people, and that's 50 points for your company for each person that does that. If you know, participating in an event is about usually 25 points for an individual event. So volunteer points are actually worth more than individual participation points. We just ask that if you do those, make sure to show up, because it's hard for us. Say 3-on-3 basketball, we had some volunteers not show up last year. I think I was running a court and maybe had to go ref and do all. It's easier for us to kind of run the event more smoothly if volunteers show up. So, and I know a lot of you, if you went to participate in an event or your employees, they'd be upset if they didn't have a scorekeeper or had to go. So. It's super, super important for especially the bigger events that we do. But we do have open volunteer spots available. So we have your required volunteer spots. You'll get those. You can assign those at the beginning. Each week we release a few more volunteer spots that get sent out in our company email, which sports they're going to be open for. They usually open at 8 a.m. on Friday, and they're first come, first served. So whoever's in there first and claims them, that's who gets them. If they're not there anymore, that means they're gone. So it's super, super important, like I've said, with volunteering at these events. And friends and family members, this is the one area where people can earn points that are not affiliated with your company. So if you have your wife or your son or whoever, they want to come volunteer, they can do that and earn points for the company. This is the only time that they can do that. Anything I missed with that? Okay, yep. So you can send a few bonus volunteers to events. It's especially like I said with 3-on-3 basketball, track. It's nice to have extra volunteers. We ask that you send like 2 extra volunteers, not like 30. We're not going to give you what's 30 times 2? 600 volunteer points for sending 30 volunteers, or no, it's like 6,000. Math's hard. Again, I stayed up late to 8 watching basketball. But you can send bonus volunteers to events and get additional points. But again, don't send 30 people. Oops. So we're going to go through the website a little bit with our administrator tools in the admin toolkit. I know a lot of you are familiar, so if you need to dip out at any time, don't feel bad if you have to get up and leave or head out to another thing. A lot of this is going through the administrator tools, and Matt's going to take us through corporate games manager. So do not feel bad if you do have to leave. Let's see. Which, stop the share. Oh, you do? Awesome. Okay, so here's our website if you've not, I probably need to share again, don't I? Technology is not my friend either, Troy. The big green button, that one? All right, that wasn't as painful as I thought. So here's our company website, or for the Des Moines Corporate Games, but this is our company administrator toolkit. It has pretty much everything you'll need for the entire summer. At the top here is where we're going to put the recording of this meeting if you ever need to go back. We'll also post the slides for it if you need those. So yes, this meeting will be recorded if you have to leave or anything like that, or what did he say there, when, whatever. We also have our corporate games point system. Every event has a certain amount of points, whether it's team points or individual points. It has those. It has the rules. We have our corporate games manager admin manual, so it's got PDF instructions. Matt's going to take us through it. I couldn't remember it the first time he went through it, so that PDF is very, very helpful for when you have to go back, whether it's adding a sport captain, adding someone to an event, adding a volunteer, anything like that. That's going to have all of that information for you. And then there's also going to be one for your employees, kind of the same thing, PDF instructions for corporate games manager. Next is that sport, I guess I could click all these things, they're clickable. Or is it going to mess up the sharing? Okay, so here's like that point system document that I was talking about. It's got example, a major team competition, how many points you get for placing in the top 4, and then how many points you get for participating. So 250 points for sending a team to bowling, dodgeball, kickball, and then you get those bonus points for placing in the top 4 in your division. And you also do lose points if you declare a team and they don't show up. So you would lose that 250 points if you declare a team for kickball and they don't show up. It messes up the schedule and the brackets and things like that, so that's why we do that. So I'll just stick to the table of contents page, but it's got, like I said, everything, a how-to on everything with Corporate Games Manager. If you can't figure it out, don't hesitate to reach out. We know it takes a little bit of time to learn, so happy to help anybody that needs help with Corporate Games Manager. We have an employee information video too. Feel free to share that with your employees about all the events that we do and getting into Corporate Games Manager, everything like that. So here's that event limits and rosters date that I was talking about. It's got everything from the minimum, maximum, company deadline, and when the schedule is available. And then new this year, we have this roster definitions. I'm not going to go through those today, but just make sure to look at those before you go to the events. If you have questions, reach out prior. That way, we're not on site. Do we have an eligible roster? Do we not? What do we? Things like that. So as always, ask questions. It's better to ask beforehand than show up to the event and if we run into an issue with anything. This has combined all of our rules for certain events. We typically don't have a lot of issues with that, but if you're ever curious on how many points you play to, how many innings you play, or anything like that, this will have all of the rules for every single event. The track and field specific information, Matt has made a video going through athletic.net. It's probably about 12 or 15 minutes long, but it's step-by-step how to add people and everything you need to do with track and field. And then there's also a template there if you want to upload your roster that way. And I'll show you just quickly a division-specific calendar. You can see it's a lot less daunting than the first one I pulled up. Far less events that you'll have to, not have to go to, but far less days that you'll have to find people for events and things like that. And at the bottom here we have promotional materials. We have flyers, posters, a sample email that you can send out to your employees letting them know you're in the corporate games, what division they're in, or you guys are in, and all the events that are going to be taking place. And then we even have InDesign files that you can use, create your own, you can add your own logos, all those types of things. So if there's anything you need promotional-wise, that would be the place to start. Any questions on any of admin toolkit stuff? We'll go back to our Zoom. Share again, don't I? Sweet. So communications, every week we do send out an email. One goes just to the admins, so everybody in this room. That's going to have your what deadlines for sports are coming up that week, recap of the last week's events, which volunteer spots are going to be open. So that's just specific information for you guys. And then we have one that goes out to all the employees, so anyone that has a corporate games manager account and has agreed to the waiver for the year, they will receive that email. That'll have upcoming events. It'll recap the last week's events. We try and put lots of pictures. We also put a lot of our pictures on Facebook, so feel free to look there for pictures. And then it'll have a direct link to Corporate Games Manager too. So if someone's like, oh, sweet, Bags is coming up, I want to declare interest in that or whatever, they can click directly there and go and declare interest in that event. Company apparel, I know a lot of companies, we don't make shirts or anything like that. That's all totally up to you guys. It's very cool. As you can see, some people in the room are wearing them. Pella has shirts. Foster Group has some cool jerseys. I've heard they're going to be even cooler this year. But it's awesome when you guys have company shirts. It sticks out more. You're more likely to be in our emails and on our promotional items, Facebook, Twitter, things like that. So it just looks really cool. And it's kind of free marketing, free sponsorship if you think about it. You know, if you have Mid-American or Pella or EMC or whoever posted plastered all over, it's very cool. So I highly recommend doing that. It's really cool to see at events too, like at track and field. It's very easy to find all your Corteva people if you're all wearing your Corteva shirts. Awesome. So Matt's going to take us through Corporate Games Manager. If you have an account already, it's already open. You'll have access just like that. If you're a new company or a new admin, you'll get an email from me or from the system shortly after the meeting. It's going to be an invite to Corporate Games Manager, so you will not have access until you receive that email. And then just don't claim volunteer spots if you're on Zoom or on the live broadcast. Derek?
I did say do not claim on the volunteer spot that I created, so Derek doesn't take it from us this year and mess up my presentation. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run over to our website here. Oops. All right, so I will try to move through this at a decent pace. There's a lot of information. As Kyle mentioned, we do have the admin manual on the website, so it's all there if you need it to look through this again. And if you've seen this already, you know what it is. Basically, Corporate Games Manager it's simple but complex. There's a lot to it, I would say, with this, but at the same time, it's pretty easy to follow, especially for the employee. For the admin, there's a little more detail, of course, but for the employee, they only have a few options, so it's very simple for them. So I'm not going to log in as you, Troy. I did already invite myself. Remember my email address that I don't ever use. I've already invited myself in, and what you'll get is, you're not going to see this, of course, but you'll get an email. Just kind of says, "Hello, welcome to Corporate Games Manager. You've been invited to your company to join." And so if you're a new admin, you'll get this email. This is what Kyle was talking about. We have to manually send those, so don't go looking right now in your email. It'll be after this meeting. We'll sit down. We'll get them sent to you. It doesn't take very long. And then that's how we also set you as an admin for your company at that point. And so you'll get that email, you'll just hit accept invitation, and you'll basically come up to a screen. It'll ask you for your basic information. The information we ask is just what we need to capture for the website. First name, last name, date of birth, gender, and a password. And then we also ask in there, and I'll show you the screen here in a little bit, but we ask you if you're interested in volunteering for your company. Your employees will all see that as well, and that's where it helps capture information if you're interested in providing volunteers. Now you've got a list of people that say they're interested to start with, so it gives you a kind of a head start on that. Everybody will have a waiver that they need to agree to. This is also something that when you check in at events, that shows us that you're in the system already, have agreed to the waiver. If someone hasn't, we do have people that come that have not signed up at all. They were like, "I was told to show up and participate in the event," and that's fine. Then at that point, we get them set up with their account, and then they agree to the waiver, and we're all good to go. So this is a dashboard that an administrator would see. On the side here on the left, that top portion under dashboard with those four links, that's all an employee sees on that side. The company administrator, of course, has more options than that. But give you a little information on this. We'll go through each one of these, and then just in general, your dashboard here, you can see we have corporate games news. This is an area that we control. And looks like I had already set up some news. It was a test. And so you can set up your own and put some information. I know I've seen Troy do that, kind of put links to things in there. It's kind of a nice catch-all area to put information for your employees. Even if you don't send out emails, then you've got a place you can put some things too. So real quick, I'll show you that My Info screen. So this is what I had to put in when I set up my account. Just the basic stuff, put in my password. This is where people can select if they're interested in earning points. After you set this up, the very first time one of your admins, not every admin, the very first time one of your admins for your company logs in, this goes for existing companies too, at least it should, it will take you to the Manage Organization screen automatically. And this is where the basic information isn't a big issue for us, but this is just to confirm some things you can put in your website and whatnot. It'll show what division you're in. You can't change this, but it will show you what division your company's in. It'll show you a company code. I'll get into this a little bit later, but this is what your employees use if they're going to register for an account on their own. This is how it ties to your company. We put that in place because it's amazing if you give people a drop-down menu how many times they'll pick the wrong company, and then they're kind of in purgatory on the website, and we have to go find them. So, and then you'll also have the option at that point. I know when you register your company, you're given the option to say whether you were going to interested in providing volunteers or not. That was just kind of help us gauge how many companies are interested in that. This is where you officially say it. And so once you set it, you cannot change it. And so you can see I selected yes for this company that I set up. And you can say no there too. Once you set it, it is set something we can change on our end. So if you set it wrong, we can change it. The questions down here, this is where you can ask your own questions. As I mentioned, we only capture the information we need. So we're not capturing a cell phone number. We're not capturing a t-shirt size. We're not capturing any of that. We're pretty careful with information. We don't want to collect any more than we have to. So if you wanted to say, ask your employees what their t-shirt size is, you can easily add that in here. These are all open-ended questions. They are required. Well, they are required, sort of. So I'm going to hit save on this. And if I go back now, see, I have a thing up here. This is where it's required. that will stay on the screen until you answer that question. Now you can see on my personal information, there is another question there, or there's another box that I can answer that question. And so now that box will go away. You do have the ability to do up to 10 questions. I think the most I've seen is 3 or 4 with that, but we did give you plenty of room to ask questions if you want to. So once you've gone through that manager organization screen, like I said, that's the only time that'll happen when you log in. That's just our way of kind of getting you in before you have employees starting to get in the system. That way you can make sure the information you want is in there and it's correct. All right, so I'm going to go in as an employee. You can sign up for events. This setup basically will only show me the events that I'm eligible for as a company that's in Division III, my age group, and everything else. So that's the nice thing about this. I have some certain ones that I usually do to help with the demo. I'm going to sign up for yoga. I saw you got yoga in the next room, Troy. I'll do that later, here after this. But they can sign up for as many events as they want. Obviously, you can go back in and sign up for more. And this is just, as we call it, declaring interest, because there are events that you have to be added to a roster. So we have had people in the past that'll say, I signed up for this event. Well, you're declaring interest for that event, and then that's where we'll get into the next part here. After I hit sign up, there are some events that we ask some questions. This is for your use if you do want to delegate responsibility for certain events. For example, do you want somebody to be the sport captain for bags? Bowling, you can see there's several of them on here. These are some opportunities that you can then capture information. We have some reports I'll show here in a while where you can pull that information. So they're also not required. As you can see, they don't have to be answered, but if people are interested, they're going to put something in there. So now you can see I do have events down here. I signed up for a lot of things. And some of the things I'm going to point out here for bags, you see under entered it says pending, and that's because it's a rostered event. It's a limited event, and so until a sport captain or an admin tells them they're on the roster, they're not. And so that's why we have it set up that way. It also will then say, which team, for example, like bags, you can have 2 teams. So, but other events that are unlimited, you can see there's a green check mark already. So cycling, 2-ride, cross country, Burst Your Thirst, fitness walk, those are all events where you don't have to act on them as an admin or anything. They just know they're automatically signed up there. I'll just point out this real quick, this Burst Your Thirst dashboard. Basically what this is the Burst Your Thirst is done through the Live Healthy Iowa website. They are totally different systems, but this is kind of a tunnel that helps get you over there. You do have to be logged in with the same username and password in both systems in order for that to work. And so this will not work, but I want to show you what it looks like. And it tells you exactly why it's not working. And so that should help people. You can go log in directly over on that website. Obviously, this is Troy's computer, so he's probably logged in, and I just logged in as a different username, so it's not going to work. When you're signed in on both sides, it's just a quick, takes you right over. So that was one of those features we added a while back, just people to make it a little bit easier for them to get between the 2 sites. Obviously, you have a login button. Not everybody has their own computer that they're using at the office, so we want to make sure people can log themselves out. All right, so we're going to go into the event participation menu here. And so this is on the admin side again. You can see real quick, you can see all the different events, the deadlines that Kyle pointed out earlier. You can see when those deadlines are. And then here's where you tell us yes or no to your teams. And so if I were to say yes to bags, now we're going to show up as having a team. There is a bags and a few other sports that have more than one team. There is another step to this. When you click on the event, you can see who all is interested in being on a team. This is where you would tell us if you have 1 or 2 teams. This is important so that when we do our schedule, we know to schedule you for 2 teams. These are employees that I put in previously that have all said they're interested in bags. And so you can see right away who wants to play. I'm going to add myself to a team. It can be team 1 or team 2. So just some examples here for you. And so on my dashboard now, it's going to give me a green check mark to show I'm in. This does also send an email to that person to say you've been added to Team 1 of bags, so they can go back in, and that gives them a little bit of feedback so they know that they're on the team already. Pretty simple to use. Again, this you can change if I change my mind, no, I don't want a bags team, I just uncheck that. So you can change it as many times as you want until that deadline, and once 5 o'clock hits, it locks, because that's when we're going to go ahead and pull the information to say yes or no. If you made a mistake, get a hold of us. You know, we're going to help you out, but the sooner the better, of course, on that, so we can get our schedules out and done. You can see all the different sports are here. There's a search box. You know, we can obviously show more at one time. There is another piece to this. This does say team events at the top. These are the ones that we're most interested in getting rosters for, but we also have individual events. And some people just like to see that, to be able to quickly see who has signed up for something. I signed up for Bursars First, so you can see that I'm interested. Again, you don't have to do anything with that, but just gives an opportunity to look real quick at that one. Find one that has a little bit more. Oops, wrong screen. So if I were to type in, I'm looking for fitness walks, what I'm looking for here, so I can go in and look really quick and see that we've got 7 people that are planning to be at the fitness walk. Now there's a report you can pull, so you can grab all those email addresses and email those people directly and say, hey, we're meeting at 11 o'clock for a group picture or something, encourage them to bring others along, things like that. All right, manage organization, obviously we've already looked at that. If you need to change anything, of course you can go back and change those things. Managing captains, this is kind of what we talked about with sport captains as a way to delegate responsibilities. The sport captains will get their own little menu if you do that, and so I'm going to give myself, now as an admin you don't need to do this, but if you're giving somebody else responsibility, this is where we would do that. So I'm going to make myself the sport captain for bags. And I will get an email that tells me I'm now the sport captain for bags. So that's another piece of that. Now you can see on the side here, there's another little screen. So if you have just a general employee who's a sport captain, they would now see the dashboard and then the sport captain screen's there. And on that screen, very similar to what you would have seen as an admin, the admins do have to say yes or no to the teams. Sport captains aren't allowed to do that. And we did that just for communication reasons so that we don't have a mistake made where somebody thought we had enough for a team or said no to a team, and it was supposed to be the other way around. So the admins do have to do that. And of course, you can have as many admins as you need. So if you don't have people that are on there now and you need to add them, we can do that. It's pretty easy. Again, as the sport captain, I can see the same thing I can see as an admin here, and add and remove people. And if I remove a captain, I'm going to get an email that says that I've been removed as a captain too. So we have that on there. The volunteer menu, if you select no to volunteering, you will not see this menu. But if you select yes, it'll show up on your screen. And this is where you can select event preferences. I think it's April 29th. You have to let us know by then if there's certain events that you're interested in. This is time-stamped as well. And I'm not going to hit save because I don't want to add it to our report. But just hit save down here, then that'll lock that in place. Again, it's time-stamped on our side, so if you go after this meeting, you know what you want to do, go ahead and put it on there. Whoever's first for dodgeball is probably going to get dodgeball. You know, that's kind of how we do that, and then we just try to, give everybody consideration after that. Clear that out real quick. And as Kyle mentioned, the open assignments that we'll have, here's the test one. Really simple if you see it here, and you'll find that you have more volunteers than you think you have. You have people who are interested in doing things. You'll have people that do not want to participate in the corporate games, but they want to volunteer. We definitely have people that we see frequently at events that they just like to volunteer and they like to be there, and they get to participate for other companies. So it's just a great way to do that. And so if you have more people that want to volunteer, you know they're interested, you can claim that volunteer spot. Very easy. Now it's gone from the open assignments, and now it's under my volunteer assignments for the company. And so assigning people is also easy. I mentioned before, people say yes. That makes it a lot better, of course. If you're assigning an employee, all these people in our company said yes. And so I'm going to assign myself, and now I'm going to get an email that says I've been assigned to a volunteer spot. It'll say the date, the time, and location. So they'll have that feedback right away. Going back in there, there's only one spot. So I'm going to remove myself, get an email again. And if you want to assign a non-employee, you can do that. You can put in their name. An email is optional for that, but the name helps that way too. We can see on our side that you've assigned those spots to people, so that's how you would do a non-employee. All right, and under managing employees, you can see everybody in your company that's got a corporate games manager account. Some things that we've allowed on here include adding events for other people. This is especially helpful if you've got a business that people don't necessarily have access to a computer all the time, and you just want to quickly add somebody into a spot. And so you can see this person, they're signed up for some events, they've been added to a bags roster, but they're interested in doing another event, and you know that they need to be on the roster for that, for track, for example, or something like that. So you can quick add them. You can see everything that they're eligible for right here, and then add them to that event. So it'll now show on their dashboard as well. Along with that, you can edit an employee's information. If they forgot their password and they didn't use the reset password link, that you could go in, you could give them a new password. You can change their information in there for them if necessary. And then you can also remove them from your company. Might be useful if you have someone who's no longer with the company, and removing them, it keeps them in the system, but they're no longer attached to your company. They're one of those people that's kind of in purgatory at that point. And so if they go to log in, they just won't see anything. They won't be able to sign up for events or participate. So also in this menu, I mentioned before, if people sign up, if they use our new user, I'll show you that in a little bit, but if they use the new user setup, that's what we prefer. That's the cleanest way for them to sign up and use the company code to get in to set up their account. But you can also invite people by email. You can type in their email address, put in a comma, add somebody else. If you do more than 10, or if you do this a lot, we have had some companies that will use this to invite everybody in the company, and we wind up getting an email saying they've been locked out of the website because it triggers a spam alert, triggers a security alert, and eventually will shut you out. It shut us out before too. So it'll do that eventually. So this is not the recommended way to do this, but you can use this to invite employees, and then they will get an email like you will get to show that they can just click in and set up their account. So it is an easy way if you have someone that's maybe not technologically inclined and you just want to get them in there quick. That is a way to do it. All right, I showed you the news on the dashboard, and you can see here where you can set up your own news. Really easy to do. You give it a title, you put some information in. If you have the ability, it does have, you can add links, do some HTML in there. So it's got some ways you can do that. Pretty simple. Let's go back and show you the one that I've already set up. Again, just did a very, very simple one. And you can publish it or unpublish it. So if you click unpublish and save it, it'll no longer show up. So we do that a lot. We have some things already ready to go for the summer that we'll just click them and publish them when it comes time. So that's just a nice little feature there. Very, very simple to use. And then reports, I'm not going to go through all of these in detail, but I'll talk a little bit about what each one does. And so the participants by user summary and by user detail, these are the two that'll show you all the information for everybody that signed up for events. The difference between them is a summary. For example, I'm signed up for about 7 events. On the CSV file, the Excel file it'll send out, it'll have my name, have all my information, my email address, and then in one line, it'll have all those events that I'm signed up for. So if you just want a quick way to grab everybody that's in there that signed up for events, you can easily do that. You can highlight all the email addresses and copy and paste them into Outlook and send an email. It makes a very simple way to do it. The participants by user detail is, the difference is, say I'm signed up for 8 events, I'm going to show up 8 different times on that. And the nice thing is, we use those reports a lot, to be honest, and the nice thing is there, then you can sort that report by the different event, different sport, everything, so you can kind of build lists the way you want, everything at once. These are multi-level as well, and so, for example, and I didn't talk about categories, I'll do that in a minute, but say you have a specific event you're looking for, so like the fitness walk, for example, and you just want to pull a list for the fitness walk, you can do that too. So it'll just pull that list. So it does give you that option there. Volunteer reports, basically people are interested in volunteering. It's going to pull that up. The company question, I asked the t-shirt size. It's going to pull a list of all those questions and those answers for each person. So you can easily pull that there. The event questions, that one is the sport captain questions that were on there. That'll pull those answers for you. Volunteer assignments, it'll show the volunteer assignments your company has been assigned, that we assigned, and then any that you claimed, and then it'll show the names of the people and the email addresses that the people who are interested in volunteering, so you have that pretty quick. And then a check-in report, this is something really nice that we're able to add with that QR code system and the online check-in. For example, I know we've done this with Troy where we've had an event and he's wondering how many people actually have checked in, or if it's kind of an ongoing check-in window, have these people showed up yet? He doesn't have to ask us to do that, he can pull it himself. It's right there. And if it's an event that it's a Saturday and we're on site, we might not be able to get back to him right away. So now he's got instant feedback and he can pull that list of people that have checked in and the kind of the basic information. And so you can do that for any event. It's just a nice way to be able to kind of grab information. We've also found that companies might be using corporate games as part of their health insurance, their wellness information, and so to have that information of who signed up, sometimes companies, employees will get a credit for their insurance. So that's a nice way to kind of put that back in your hands where you don't have to ask us to pull reports for you. And of course we will. We're happy to do it, but it makes it a lot quicker to be able to do it yourself. Real quick, I did not talk about that category piece. That is useful within the captain's area. The reason we have that is, for example, track and field. If you were to pull up track and field individually, it's going to pull up every event, every age group, and if you want to assign someone to track and field, you don't want to have to pull all those to do that. So track and field, for example, we broke up into 3 categories. You have the relay teams, and then male and female. And so you could just pull all 3 of them, and it'll be good. You'll have everybody. Another example would be like cross country, because there's all the age groups. Now, those events might not be something that you pull lists for, but they're there and available to do. But that's what the categories are that you saw on the report screen. So you can pull a track and field list that way instead of having to pull every age group individually. If you just want track and field, that's the way to pull it. Any questions on the Corporate Games Manager? I did speed through it a little bit, but again, as we talked about on the website here, I'll just show you that admin manual again real quick. Everything that we talked about is in here. Example, submit your volunteer event request. How to do that, shows you right on the screen, gives you a screenshot. So everything should be in there. Feel free to take a look at that. But if you have questions, just ask. We're happy to help. Sometimes there's more than one way to do things. We've had a few company admins that have figured out a second way to do something that we didn't have. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That they would have to just go on the site for. We don't have an email set up for that one. We do have also this employee information video, as Kyle mentioned. We have another one here too. The Corporate Games Manager information for employees. This is a manual just for employees. It's much shorter, obviously, but very simple, kind of some basic questions. It says how to set up your account. Shows the new user register here. That's what you'd click on to set up a new user. And so it has some basic information for each employee and what their dashboard means and everything else. So this is definitely a good way that they can kind of take a look quick and see what everything's about. With that real quick, and I don't have that on my screen because I'm an admin, but a normal employee would have in the corner here, it just says contact company. Say they're not sure who their admin is, they can click on that button and it'll give them a kind of a dialog box like the news that we saw, and you can type in a message and it'll send an email out to every admin. That way, if you're having questions, obviously some larger companies, someone might not know Troy at Corteva, that'll send an email to him and the other admins in the system to help get that question answered. And one last thing I'll show you. I'll go back to that, kind of the opening screen for this. And so if you do have a new user, you need to click here, sign up, and very simple information. This is where they put in the company code, and I'm trying to think what your guys' is. I can show how this works to show if it's actually working. You can see it's in a red box until you put in a correct code. And there we go. And so now it gives a little confirmation they put the code in right. It'll say the company name under there. So that's a nice little feedback for it. All right, that's it. If you have any other questions, think of anything, we'll be here for a little while afterwards too, once we wrap up. So. I just want to touch on Burst Your Thirst quick. That's kind of a unique event. So just declaring interest in Corporate Games Manager doesn't sign someone up for that event. You actually have to go to the Live Healthy Iowa website. We will send you a group ID and subsidy code. That way, when you go to Live Healthy, we'll send you a PDF how you register anybody that wants to participate, put them all on a team or X amount of teams. The subsidy code makes that cost $0. And that is how you officially register. So if you need help with Burst Your Thirst, specifically reach out to Sarah or I. Happy to help with that. For that one, everyone has to be registered by like June 2nd, I think is the date. It's like the Friday before the fitness walk. That way we can have all of our water bottle reports done so we can have everything packaged up for you. So whoever comes to the fitness walk, we can hand you a box full of water bottles and say, here you go, here's your 310 for Pella or whatever company you are. So with Burst Your Thirst, don't hesitate to reach out. Strategies for success. Troy hit on a lot of this, so I'm not going to touch on it too much, but we send out a lot of those weekly communications. We encourage you to do so as well. Other things are incentives, small gift cards or recognition of your employees is huge. Whatever that works for you to encourage people to participate and take advantage of these opportunities. And like Troy said, delegation. Don't try and take it all on at once. It's huge to have those other admins to lean on, sport captains. Find somebody that likes 3-on-3 basketball or is an expert at pickleball or spike ball or whatever sport, and have them take ownership for that sport and finding people to participate. And then find your company strengths. Winning is not the primary goal for every company. We know that. There's far more benefits to doing these games than winning. Winning's sweet. You get an awesome giant trophy. But the people I've met, Troy, Joyce, Alex, a lot of you, it's cool to meet all of you, hear your stories, and share those experiences, networking, leading to other business opportunities, you name it. So, and always ask questions. Don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Sarah. Our intern is Alex, so if you get emails from someone named Alex, it is a real person, it's not spam. She is at Central College, boo, and playing tennis, and I think does triathlons there. So she started with us about a month ago. Yeah, my Loris guy knows. Go Dewhawks, by the way. Jeez. Excuse me. Also want to thank our sponsors. Obviously, they're up on the screen. They are huge to what we do. We wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things and have a lot of the equipment and things like that without sponsors. So thank you to everyone that sponsors, whether it's executive sponsorship, sport and event sponsorship. If you're interested, there's still opportunities for this year or next year or other things with our organization, say Adaptive Sports Iowa. If you're interested in sponsoring, feel free to reach out to me. We'll get you in touch with our sponsorship team because that can be a huge help for us and you. So I'll open it up to questions. I'm going to touch on a few other things quick. I know you saw we added pickleball this year. I know that's going to be very popular. Racket sports are difficult to do in the corporate game, so it's kind of a trial this year. So hang with us. We do have one men's team and one women's team for that sport this year, just to make sure it goes okay. We don't want to have like 6 teams from every company and just not have it go smoothly. So we're going to see how that goes this year. A lot of the overwhelming feedback we got last year was there was too many events, especially on the virtual side, COVID. This is actually going to be my first, hopefully normal year of the games. It's my 3rd year, so I got started right before COVID. Very fun. So
we've reduced that back to like that 25. I think that'll take a lot of pressure off your guys' plates, less events that you're trying to find people to participate in, but more quality over quantity with those things. And then that check-in report that Matt talked about, my advice is to save that at the end of August, pull that check-in report and pull the full thing, save it. That way in the next year you can see, okay, who did the fitness walk? Pull that, you have that report saved, you can email you'll find who all did those events and email very quickly. So my advice is to save that report at the end of August so you have everybody who participated the previous year for the next year. And you can check in multiple times. Don't worry if you don't think you checked in for something. It never hurts to check in multiple times. It only shows up the most recent time for us. So if you're not sure, don't just go ahead and check in for something multiple times. All right, that's my rundown of stuff I wrote down. What other questions do we have? Yeah, so if you're going to do that, just reach out to us beforehand. Some events it works. So say bags or something where you're checking people in and then go participate. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Track and field, maybe you're going to be raking the long jump for an hour and a half and doing events, and then you'll leave to go do the 100-meter dash and come back and rake. Sometimes it works. Just reach out to us. That's all we ask, so we kind of know and can plan around that.
The question was, can you participate and volunteer?
Yes.
We're just doing that for the Zoom. That's okay.
Yes. So yes, can you participate and volunteer? Again, just let us know, and we can usually find a way to make it work. Oh, hold on, we have a mic coming.
It's just so people can hear it on the phone.
I feel like this is like that game show. I don't know what it's called, but
When somebody first signs up, and this is big with the company I work for, that they don't resonate as a male or female, is there another option, or will they not be able to sign up if they don't have that?
yeah. So that's a difficult question, especially in 2022 in the sports world. How we have it set up is it's men's and women's divisions. Basically, you have to pick between the two. That's a very, very difficult question for the sporting industry. I know that will change in the future as there's more demand for additional categories and things like that. But if there is questions on that, feel free to send them to us, and we're happy to kind of explain why we have the two gender option. Anything to add with it?
No, that kind of covers it. The question's come up before, and really it's simply to gauge which events people are eligible for. If they're co-ed events, it's going to show for everybody. And so kind of how we've handled that is what people identify as, kind of focus on that, and then it stays that way in the system, of course, at that point. But that'll give them kind of which events then they're eligible for at that point.
Thank you. Good question. What else? Awesome. Well, if you do have them, feel free to reach out to us. We're going to hang around for a bit. Feel free to network with others. It's a good opportunity to do that. If you don't want to go back to work, it's definitely a good opportunity. But thank you. I know being an admin's not easy. It is a little bit of work. So thank you. We appreciate you coming today, and we'll see you in June.
Recording stopped.